Greetings, music fans. I'm Ken the Metal Professor, host of Mostly Metal, airing on the media juggernaut of WVLP in Valparaiso, Indiana. We're just a small nonprofit community radio station. I do my show Sunday nights from 8 to 10. It's my hobby for the week. I get to play heavy metal and other things that I happen to enjoy. I slip it in there. No commercials or anything like that, just 2 hours of fun. It's my stress relief for the week. And I've also decided to start doing stress relief by thinking about my rankings of CDs and top 10 songs from bands I've been inspired by, say Pete Pardo at Sea of Tranquility, or the Classic Album Review YouTube page. So I'm kind of blatantly just, copying what everybody else is doing because it seemed fun. It's fun to go back and think about bands that you haven't listened to for a long time and sort of organize in your head their discography. I've always been a list maker. I keep lists of books I've read, movies I've seen, television shows I've watched. So the idea of making all of these lists of, ranking bands, albums, and top 10 songs, it gets me so excited. So today I'm going to think about Testament, and I'm going to give you my grabbing order of Testament CDs, which is when it's time to listen to Testament, which discs am I least to most likely to listen to. I've been listening to Testament since Souls of Black came out. I had the first 4 Testament discs on cassette. How about that? I don't think I have them on cassette anymore. I've upgraded them to discs. Testament started in 1987 with the release of The Legacy. They put out, 4 albums, went up to Souls of Black. And then they got to that time in their history where, like some bands, they tweaked their sound a little bit. It wasn't drastic, but it was a little bit noticeable to mixed results. I happen to like the way it went myself. After that, I think they got back to their roots with a couple of heavy albums, and they haven't really had any really super long gaps. It's not like they disappeared for a decade and a half and then came back, but they did slow down quite a bit for a while. And since, when was it? It was in 2008. That was their first release after 1999. So they had like a 10-year break there. But since 2008, they've been back on schedule. About every 4 years or so, they've put out a new release. And so they've had, I'll call them their resurgence CDs, 3 discs that they've put out over the last decade or so that follow the classic Testament sound. And a new one is coming out imminently in early April called Titans of Creation. So we'll see how that fits into all of this. So here we go. My grabbing order of Testament CDs. The one I'm least likely to pull out is Demonic from 1997. It's a good album. It's just a different Testament album. And when I'm thinking about Testament, I'm more likely thinking about, their early releases or just the classic Testament sound. And Demonic is a brutal album, but it isn't that classic Testament sound. Some good songs on there. I like Burning Times, Murky Waters, and 10,000 Thrones. But it's almost more of a hybrid death metal. Chuck Billy makes a noticeable shift downward in his growls and his throatiness, trying to sound more dark and evil, and it works. He does sound more dark and evil. So it's I don't dislike it. It's just the one I'm least likely to go to when I'm hoping for that classic Testament sound. Coming in at number 10, Dark Roots of Earth. This is one of their resurgence albums. It was their second, came out in 2012. Now, this is a very Testament-y of Testament CDs. It sounds exactly like it should for a Testament disc. The latter-day albums are very clean and slickly produced. But on this particular one, to me, nothing really stands out as spectacular. A Day and a Death is good. Man Kills Mankind, and Throne of Thorns. But all in all, I think maybe what happened was when they did their resurgence in 2008, they released The Formation of Damnation, and then they had to come back and do another album after that. I mean, it was 4 years, but maybe they saved up all their aggression for Formation of Damnation and had a bunch of interesting songs on there, and then maybe it slowed down a little bit for the release after that, sort of a sophomore slump in the resurgence CDs. I don't know. Number 9, Souls of Black. Back in the day, this was probably one of my favorites, but as I've sat down and thought about this, there's been a couple of surprises about where things ended up to me in my own list, especially with I decided to put Demonic at the bottom. Souls of Black ended up lower than I might have anticipated when I first started thinking about it. I think the production has a lot to do with it. It's just, it's a victim of the late 80s. It came out in 1990, but still, it just didn't sound that great. Face in the Sky, the title track, Malpractice is a great tune. The Legacy, though, I mean, lots of good songs on it. For just whatever reason, I'm not drawn to it as much as the other early discs. Okay, coming in at number 8 was their other, call it oddball CD, The Ritual from 1992. This was their 5th album where they shifted gears a little bit. They took away a little bit of the edge and went for a little bit more melody. For me, that's great. I'm a big sucker for melody and things like that. Electric Crown is one of my favorite Testament songs. It's I'll give you a sneak preview when I do my top 10 list. I think that song is going to come in at number 3. It's tremendous. Deadline, Agony, Return to Serenity, all good songs. Some people might rank this one last. I think they probably got some slack for it when it came out. But I enjoy it. I don't rank it as highly as the others, but hey, it's good. Okay, numbers 7 and 6. I'm going to tell you them together because they kind of come as a set. I really, at the moment, I've got Brotherhood of the Snake at 7 and Formation of Damnation as 6. These are in those Resurgence CDs, right? Formation of Damnation in 2008, and then Brotherhood of the Snake in 2016. They didn't come out back to back. They're the first and the third of those, what I'm calling Resurgence discs, but they're very, very similar in style, very clean thrash, lots of heaviness that had been stored up for all those years off. Formation of Damnation, some of the standout tracks are More Than Meets the Eye, The Evil Has Landed, FEAR, Fear. Brotherhood of the Snake has The Pale King, which has a video, if you want to check that out on YouTube, Stronghold, The Number Game. So it's good stuff. It's classic Testament. Happy to see them still going along with it. To me, they don't rise to the level of the early works, and they're, kind of relatively indistinguishable between themselves. So going into my top 5, at 5, I will put Low from 1994. This was a return to brutality after The Ritual. It's one of their heaviest albums. Demonic and The Gathering maybe go along with it. But you knew they meant business once they came back after The Ritual with Low. The title track, Hail Mary, Shades of War, All I Could Bleed, Chasing Fear, all great tunes. Coming in at number 4, The Gathering from 1999. This is a strange one to me. So what I do is I go to Spotify and I pick a band and I make a playlist for that band, right? This is the modern day version of buying a 90-minute cassette and making a mixtape. You just have a lot more room for things. And in fact, the songs that I'm naming as the ones that stand out to me on albums are the songs that are in my Testament playlist. Maybe I'll put a link to that list in the comments here. The Gathering is weird because only one song from The Gathering lands in my top 10 of Testament songs. But I have more songs from The Gathering on my Spotify playlist than any other album. I have 6 coming off of this one. DNR, Do Not Resuscitate, Down for Life, True Believer, Careful What You Wish For, that's the one in my top 10, Allegiance, and Fall of Sipeldome, which is a great live track too. So lots of great songs, but with the exception of one or maybe 2, none of them are that great that they really leap to the tippy top of Testament tracks. So, this album is just a solid A-, B+ all the way across. It's consistent enough to lift it up to number 4 on my list. Number 3, The New Order from 1988. Lots of classic tracks off of this one, like Trial by Fire, the title song, The Preacher, Nobody's Fault, just thrash metal at its best. Number 2, The Legacy, their debut from 1987. Boy, they had first album magic on this one. These youngsters, young thrash whippersnappers, were just ready to go when they released The Legacy, Haunting, Do or Die, Alone in the Dark, Apocalyptic City. Every year I try to do a Halloween-themed heavy metal show on WVLP. The Haunting is always a staple. I've put it in there just about every year. Whoops, my screen blanked out. There we go. So the Legacy at number 2, and then my favorite Testament CD is Practice What You Preach from 1989. The title track, Nightmare, is a blistering 2.5-minute song. Time is Coming, The Greenhouse Effect, The Ballad. I even like that one. And, with the title, they don't pull any punches in terms of what it's going to be, right? Like I said before, I'm a sucker for melodic music. Anything that I can hum during or afterwards is a hit in my mind, but I also like heaviness. And Practice What You Preach to me is the perfect balance of the heavy thrash, but also very distinguishing melodies that Testament put together. And so it is my number 1. So, recapping. I don't know why I'm going to recap, because what I've been doing is putting the album covers up and around. So you could probably see them, but number 11, Demonic. Number 10, Dark Roots of Earth. Number 9, Souls of Black. 8, The Ritual. 7, Brotherhood of the Snake. 6, Formation of Damnation. 5, Low. 4, The Gathering. And the top 3, The New Order, Legacy, and my number 1, Practice What You Preach. So that is my grabbing order for Testament. My next video I'll do tomorrow, Monday the 16th, will be a top 10 for Testament. And then from there I will move on. I'm going to try to alternate back and forth between metal and not metal. So perhaps next, after I finish up with Testament, I might do REO Speedwagon or Yes, just for funsies, and then move on from there. I'll try to make these videos fairly consistently, just because these days with everybody doing their social distancing and things, we all got to help keep each other entertained, right? So it's amazing that even through all this annoyance and health crisis, we have the internet, we have YouTube, we've got cell phones, we've got all this stuff that still works, and it'll keep us connected. And so even though we're not going out to parties or big rock concerts at the moment, we'll get by. In fact, Testament is due to start on their tour in Australia in about 5 days as of the day of this recording, and I don't know what's going to happen with that. They're due to hit close to here in Chicago in May. Maybe it'll have a chance of going on there, but we'll see. So best of luck through all this, and thanks for visiting my basement. Take care.